Madison, and we told you we have a performance in store today, but first we have to meet the man behind the rhymes. We are joined by award-winning poet, Mr. Robert Cohen Jr. Welcome to Studio 10. How are you?
I'm pretty good, actually. This is really exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. It is so nice to see you again because I had the lovely pleasure of judging you in a poetry contest a few weeks back at Scene Metro in East Lansing, where you took first place, and it was very clear to see why. But tell us, like, how did that feel, getting up there, doing all those different poems? Because you had back to back to back.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
It actually was really exciting. Head-to-head poetry is very subjective.
Yeah.
Once you get up there and you are like immersed in what it is you have to say and what it is you want to say, it's probably one of the most rewarding things I've ever done.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, that's so great to hear. And again, it was very clear as to why you were in first place because your storytelling was very impeccable. But I want to know, tell us what sparked your interest in just doing poetry overall?
I started poetry in the 3rd grade, actually. So my teacher encouraged me to keep writing. Like most kids, I also like music, so I wanted to be a rapper. But I was like, that might not work out. So somewhere along the lines in college, I started writing some more, and I showed one of my professors, and she was trying to get like the poetry program to come back.
Yeah.
But I ended up writing a bunch and performing on campus, and then deciding that I think I want to do more of that.
Okay. And what I loved about, seeing you up there is that you spoke a lot about your journey as a teacher and what it's like being in the classroom, both on the side as a student as well as being a teacher. So how do you kind of channel your life into your work?
Just being authentic, realizing that my story isn't necessarily specific to me, even though it is my life. There are some shared experiences that most people have had, or just things or ideas that people can connect to, and then just rooting those and taking those concepts and exploring them to share them with others.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that you shared on that stage was the joy of your job, the joys of life. I feel like a lot of times when we see poetry and we see people on stage, they're talking about the negative, the bad thoughts that they've had, which again, like you said, poetry is, everyone's personal experience is different, but you have a light that you like to shine and share with people. So tell us what your creative process looks like.
It's usually like a concept or a really fond memory or something that I like hold on to or think about like the back recesses of my mind. And I'm like, if I can bring that forward and I can like elaborate on what that feeling is, whether it brought me happiness, whether it brought me like awareness, or just something that I think needs to be shared that isn't necessarily uplifted. I usually start with a concept, or I'll probably say something really cool like in the shower or something, or on my way to work, and I'm like, I could probably turn that into a poem.
That's awesome. Well, do you have a mantra or something that you tell yourself before you get on stage and you start? And also, another thing I have to say, you were one of the few poets who didn't have your phone out. You weren't reading on a piece of paper. So are you rehearsing? Like how? Tell me a little bit about how you prepare to get on stage.
So memorization is a huge thing. So I'm a part of a slam team called Detroit Echo. So my slam master, Ari Lane, she has this thing called ABP, which is always be poeming. So we do rehearse a lot. She always encourages us to rehearse. Me personally, I could probably do it more, but one of the things that she says is that once you memorize a poem and once you like step in it, it's easier to immerse yourself in those experiences, which leads me to like my mantra. I always say like my whole life is poetry and motion, and then I realized it was poetry in motion.
That is awesome. Well, another thing we can immerse ourselves to is your book that you have here where you've written your poems. Really quickly, tell us a little bit about that.
So It's Just a Phase is broken up into 4 parts. The first part is dedicated love poems. The second part are poems that explore introspection and my mental health. The third part is what Toni Morrison would also describe as Black Matters. And then the fourth part consists of poems that needed to be in a book, regardless of what my book was about. These are things that the best way to learn who I am as an author is to read probably that 4th section of the book.
Well, that is awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and stay tuned because we know you have a performance coming up on November 6th, but first, Rob is going to perform for us on our Studio 10 stage after the break, so make sure you stay with us.